Unity all the way.
Good evening, welcome to NUFC Management Steve Wraith. It's Thursday. I'm joined by Gibbo and Supermac as always. And lads, we've got to go back to last weekend because we've not had the opportunity on this show this season to talk about an away win. And here we got it, John. We got it.
Oh, absolutely. And absolutely thrilled to bits. Flabbergasted, having sat through with failing to beat Cambridge at home in the Cup and failing to beat Watford, who are so bad and habitual losers, they end up sacking the manager this week. It was just wonderful. It was deserved. And by Jove, wasn't it needed? Because the night before, Norwich had turned over Watford by 3-0, which was unbelievable. And the day after, Burnley got a very unexpected draw at Arsenal. So if we had lost at Leeds, we wouldn't be feeling too happy this long layoff of 2 and a bit weeks. So it was excellent and it was deserved. But please do not let us go into the rest of the season with exactly the same squad we had at Leeds. Please get some more signings in before Monday night, guys, because the squad ain't good enough to keep us up without some help. So all power to the elbow of everybody that's out there at the moment in trying to do the deals over the next few days, because the win with Leeds, as welcome as it is, doesn't mean we don't need any more players. The same problems remain. How often is Shaw going to play as well as he did then? How often is that defence not going to let in a goal, keep a clean sheet, etc., etc.? It ain't going to happen. It was fab, but let's have a few more aboard, please, before Monday night.
Absolutely. Just before I go into it, may I just say, and I've been prompted by my wife Carol on this, thank you to everybody for all your lovely sentiments and comments about the passing of Billy last week. It really was very, very touching from everybody, and we really did appreciate it. So thank you all.
And well meant. Billy was the untold star of this show. I always thought there was a fourth person there, and certainly Billy was capable of getting more laughs than any of us three. That's for certain.
Yes.
Something's gone out the show, Malcolm, with no Billy.
Right, but he wasn't going to appear until he had agreed appearance money.
Well, I know in Wraith he can be a bit tight-fisted.
Yeah,
he reminds me of
right.
Mike Ashley at times.
Billy was like a dog with a bone, to be honest.
Yeah, bless him. Anyway, to go back to last weekend, chuffed as I was about it, I'm thinking, come on, this is a great chance just to get that second goal. And still they haven't got that second goal to cement the lead, to really put the pressure on the opposition. And everything stays tight, nerve jangling all the way until the very final whistle. Dear me, we all need strong nerves, that's for sure, watching Newcastle this season.
You're right, Malcolm. The first thing that struck me when we went ahead, and I'm probably, Steve, in the ground, you were exactly the same, and I'm certain you were, Malcolm. I immediately looked at my watch to see how long to go, because we've lost 21 points from winning positions this season, and I thought, my God, there's quarter of an hour still left. Can we hang out? And then when that quarter of an hour disappeared, the guy puts a board up and it's another 5 minutes. Into me, 5 minutes, 5 hours. You know,
and plus the fact, John, that that looking at the goal itself, it was very fortunate. The goalkeeper really fluffed it, didn't he?
Oh, goalkeeper was shocking. I mean, I was delighted, but he was shocking.
Yeah,
he was shocking,
and he nearly fluffed another one later on. But it does concern me. We're not getting shots in on target. We're not getting shots in. We're not getting headers in. And, you know, so one goal and we've got to desperately cling on to it because we know we can't get a second.
Mind, to be truthful, I've got to say, and you're right, Malcolm, that's been the problem all season, but I've got to say, How on earth did we not get a penalty when St. Maximin's feet were taken from under him in the penalty area? For me, that was a penalty all day long.
All day long, yeah. I'm seeing a lot of very bizarre decisions coming from referees in the Premiership so far this season. I really am. Quite bizarre. It's a real sea change to what we were witnessing last season, you know, and players where last season they would get the foul for a challenge, you know, and they're looking and saying, well, hang on, come on, a few weeks back I was getting a foul for this, and now I'm not. It is quite upsetting for footballers. They want to know exactly what the limits are, exactly what the situation is, and to keep tossing and changing with the rules as the authorities are doing is very, very upsetting for players. But nevertheless, Newcastle, they took advantage. So well done to them. First away win. But it does concern me, though, that Newcastle, they're not getting shots in. Do you know that Newcastle, they've scored 3 once. They've scored 2 twice where both scorers were Newcastle players. There was a 2 which was actually an own goal, I think, by Dele Alli. And so getting a second goal, it's so alien at the moment.
I tell you what, McDonald, you're getting greedy. We've just won the second match of the season and you're demanding we stuff some side 2-0.
Yeah, but
you're getting greedy, you are, mate.
Not at all. I'm just very concerned that Newcastle, having got that goal up, they're then saying, oh, well, let's sort of sit back. And I thought there was a lot of sitting back just to hang on to it.
If you look at the personnel, Malcolm, are you so surprised we don't get a second goal? Because we're not full of goal scorers, are we? Willock stopped scoring goals. We haven't got Callum Wilson in the side. We're not full of goal scorers, you know.
No,
that's one of our problems, isn't it?
And it really does show where we've got glaring weaknesses that need strengthening. And it really does worry me that we've got, today's almost gone. And so we've got 3 days in which to do it before the window closes. Whoa, that's leaving it tight, fellas.
Yeah, it is tight. It is tight. No doubt.
Look, there's a bit of frustration amongst the fan base. It's got to be said. Alan, though, before we finish on the Leeds game, says, thank you, Steve, Malcolm and John, for your prediction of the Leeds game last week. I went straight down to the bookies and put a bet on Newcastle to win at odds of 13-5. Thank you very much.
Well done, you.
Funny enough, when I gave me prediction last week, Steve, you might remember, I said, having forecast Newcastle to beat Cambridge and to beat Watford when they didn't, perhaps me saying they'll lose to Leeds means we'll beat them, and they did. So perhaps if I forecast Newcastle to lose every game between the end of the season, we'll go on an unbeaten run and float up that table to 4th bottom and be safe. But no, it was a relief. I mean, everything told us that it wasn't going to happen. Newcastle had never won away from home. They had the worst away record in the Premier League. They'd lost 21 points from a winning position. No one had been signed that particular week. We had 1 win and 1 clean sheet all season, and 3 of our senior players were off injured and subbed. So everything indicated that Newcastle were in trouble, and they weren't. They won. But isn't that the joy of football? We don't know what's going to happen next. Now, what's going to happen against Everton? That's intriguing, because we can all feel now, and I do feel, that Newcastle can go on and beat Everton because they're in an absolute total mess. But how many teams have we played this season that are in a total mess? Whether it was Norwich, whether it was Watford or whatever, and we sat back and waited for the win that didn't come. But we've got to be optimistic against Everton. But at the same time, for my optimism to really rise, I want something to happen in the next 3 to 4 days in the transfer market, boys. I think that is so crucial. It's untrue.
Well, let's talk about, hasn't it?
let's talk about the transfer window. And I mean, there's a lot to talk about. Malcolm, we've been messed around, Malcolm. I think which was predicted it was going to happen. Manchester United. But let's talk about that first, because Alan Thompson's asked us what are our thoughts on the Man United situation with Lingard. First time I've heard this. Manchester United would normally just want a loan fee. And, you would cover the players' wages. You would pay a loan fee, which is, usually in the region of £2 to £3 million for somebody like Lingard in the position that he's in. He's surplus to requirements there. Manchester United have allegedly come back now. And the reason that the deal is stalled at the minute is that they are asking Newcastle to pay an additional £12 million for what would be called a relegation fee. And that isn't a fee for getting Newcastle relegated. On the contrary, that's a fee that they will get paid if Newcastle stay in the Premier League. And the reason behind it, Malcolm, is that Newcastle staying in the Premier League will be worth in the region of 70 to 100 million for them staying up. Going down, obviously, they will lose a vast amount of TV money. And the situation, doesn't bear thinking about. But is this right that a team like Manchester United should do this, first of all? And I asked the question of the lads on the show last night. Is this Man United getting a little bit twitchy about Newcastle's threat to their dominant position in the top four? Because Newcastle have got money now to spend. And if Newcastle stay up, they're going to go on and be a force. And Manchester United appear to be slightly worried about that. Yeah,
not just slightly. I think they're very worried. They're making it very difficult for Newcastle, and they're testing not the football aspect of the whole situation. That they're testing the board of directors to see how far they're going to chuck the money around. And I hope that they have told Man United to go do one. I really do. Do you not think that it's now high time for the Premier League and even the Football League to actually create a set of rules within which you can loan players? Because at the moment, I think it's all very willy-nilly. And so you can go asking for whatever you want. You can stick in whatever you want. And yet, with transfers, it's relatively tight to a set of rules. With loans, there's next to no rules.
Oh, it's absolutely shocking. And Lingard, who evidently wants to come here, is absolutely furious with Man U for what they're doing. And the manager is quite happy for the guy to go. The manager said, you can go, etc., etc. But you get the feeling, it's so hypocritical. You get the feeling that Manchester United, they're all aggressive because all of a sudden this club that was stuck up in the northeast and hadn't a penny to spend or wouldn't spend a penny under Ashley are suddenly capable of spending them. And they're trying to make Newcastle pay. And it's an absolute disgrace for Newcastle to have to pay that amount of money if they stay up on Lingard just coming on loan. Let's remember, if we stay up, might it have nothing to do with Trippier? Might it have nothing to do with Chris Wood? Might it have nothing to do with two centre-halves we get or a midfielder? It's all going to be Lingard's doing as far as Manchester United is concerned, is it? It is an absolute nonsense. But aren't we suffering this window, guys, as we knew we would over clubs who, if they're English clubs, they may not, as Malcolm has regularly said on this show, want to do deals with Newcastle because they're the new kids on the block and the rich kids on the block. Let's block them off. And if it's foreign, they just want a couple of O's to be put on the end of the fee because Newcastle have got the money and might just pay it. And that is why the going has been so tough in this window. The two deals we did very early on and got off to a flyer, with hindsight, you can see how they could be done. Trippier was wanting to come back to England for family reasons. His wife and kids were over here. He'd spent 2 years in Spain, etc., etc. He'd been a wonderful servant to Atletico Madrid. They'd won the title. Atletico understood his position and said, before it was Newcastle that was coming into fame, said, we understand, we'll thank you for everything you've done for us and we'll let you go at a reasonable price. Therefore, Newcastle could go in and do the deal. And he knew Newcastle were a 50,000 crowd team and he played for Howard Burnley. So that deal could be done. The Chris Wood deal could always be done because they've got the same agent. Newcastle were tipped off. They knew that there was a release clause of 25 million. If we match that, Burnley can't stop us having them. Only Wood can stop the deal by not wanting to come. So those two deals could be done. But we've spent how long negotiating with Manchester United on a loan, with Sevilla over the Brazilian centre-half, or with Leon over the Brazilian midfielder. The left back we're talking about, now Dan Burn down at Brighton. And the money goes up and up and up. And it's understandable that the new owners don't want to be taken for a ride, don't want to set their stall out this January of paying treble what they ought to pay, and therefore in the summer it's going to become impossible because they've set the rules out. They've already paid over the top to get Wood. There's no question that he's not a £25 million player, but that he's probably worth about 10 in an even market. But it's been tough for the new owners, and I can understand that, and they can understand it, and I've got huge sympathy for them. I do feel that we missed a real opportunity, guys, by not appointing a director of football long before this window come along. So we had a heavyweight with clout who was a complete professional in this game to front our window, and instead of having new individual owners, 4 people, the manager's number 2, Nixon, who was already here, and Amanda. It's tough on them to do it. We needed a professional with hindsight who we should have had in. I would like to have had in. So we've made it tougher for ourselves. But bottom line is we've got to sign between now and the end of Monday. And I think we will.
Malcolm, it's not just Lingard, of course. We've been linked with centre-halves. Carlos, well, the price kept going up and up and up. I mean, never say never on that. Botman looks like a one which might stretch into the summer market. Again, Newcastle seem persistent. They want to get the man. And Bruno, the midfielder now, is another one which is on the list of potentials. And Baka, the left back. So there's plenty of names being mentioned. We obviously know that the transfer window closes on Monday. Plenty of time. I don't think we need to panic just yet. Are you impressed, albeit that they haven't had a director of football or a chief executive to negotiate through these waters, that Newcastle haven't been made mugs of, in the sense, with the Lingard deal, they haven't kowtowed and they haven't gone in with a naivety and just paid that. They're actually doing what we expect them to do as respectable business people, and get the deal. And you would imagine that some of these players will come in prior to the transfer window closing.
Yeah, I just wonder how much involvement the manager has had. I think he's had probably quite a lot of involvement, not only at pointing to players that he wants or doesn't want, but I think that he's also been saying, look, this is how we need to do this. We need to be a bit more clever in approaching clubs in terms of trying to get a deal completed. Get a fee agreed, and then agree a contract with the player. It's a complicated process. Just one single transfer can be a very complicated process, and it does take an awful lot of experience. You can't go into it raw. You really can't. You need to know all of the rules and regulations that are involved, and
got to be streetwise, Malcolm. Got to be streetwise as
absolutely,
well.
Yes, indeed. Yes, and on top of knowing all the rules, you have to be streetwise. it is a great expression. You have to know your way around and just how to pull a deal off. Get the player to sign his contract. Get the selling club to have agreed the fee in the first place. And it's not. It certainly isn't easy. And I can understand why now clubs have had room for a director of football. It's a very good idea. If as long as he and the manager are working hand in glove together.
As one, Malcolm, yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, the big thing is, guys, Steve, there's 3 days, whatever, it's Monday night, isn't it? Monday night, 11 o'clock, to get these deals in. What we don't want, and let us stress, by the way, our sympathy is with the guys that are doing the deals or trying to do the deals with Newcastle, because we know the care. We know the care about the club. We know they're willing to pay good money and that they're trying every sinew. But what we've got to hope is that the closer we get to Monday evening without signing at all, or without signing for a particular position, like say centre half, that we don't panic and take our 6th or 7th choice centre half, because buying a loan is not the answer, or getting them on loan is not the answer to Newcastle's problems. Buying another Lascelles, buying another Shaw is not going to solve Newcastle's problems. It's got to be buying an improvement, hasn't it? And if it's a scattergun and we just buy a centre half because we need a centre half and this one becomes available, that isn't the answer if he's not going to do any better than the ones we've got in. So that comes into the equation as well. And I think that's something that we worry about, particularly with centre halves. Midfielders might have a little bit more time. Another striker, he's either a goal scorer or he's not. But centre halves have got to hit the ground running, and they've got to be an improvement. It's not just a matter of sitting at midnight on Monday and saying, well, we've got 2 centre halves and a midfielder in, so we're okay. We're only okay if they do the business.
How many do you think's realistic, Malcolm? Helen's asking.
How many signings
before Monday?
2, maybe, if they really work hard at it. I'd be very surprised if there's anything more than that. They've got to be the right players, the right kind of players, the right positions. We must not panic. That's for sure.
At the moment, we're looking, guys, aren't we? From what we know, at least a centre half. We could do with 2, but it would probably be 1. We're looking actively at a left back. We're looking at a midfielder and a forward player. Whether that is whether Dele Alli or Lingard would be seen as the midfielder, which Bruno unquestionably is. And I think he would, by all accounts, I think he would be an excellent signing. And he's a young boy at 24 and he's broken into the Brazilian side. I think he would be good going. But I would hate to get to Monday, even if we bought Malcolm, even if we bought a midfield player and a left back and maybe a backup striker. I would hate to get to the transfer deadline and not have signed the centre half, wouldn't you?
Yeah, we are in need, that's for sure.
I mean, I've watched Newcastle home and away all season. I've got to be honest. I think a striker is more of a priority. I genuinely think
not a striker, a goal scorer.
I think if we can get a
goal scorer,
I stand corrected. But I genuinely feel
we've just bought a striker who doesn't look as if he's going to score from here to the end of the season.
Yeah. We need a goal scorer 100%, and we need somebody who's going to play off Wood and be able to play with Wilson. That's what we need. It's going to be difficult, but we need to fill that gap. I think the defence has been strengthened with Trippier.
Without a shadow of a doubt.
Dummett's return's been welcome.
Yes.
I think we could get by with the goalkeeper and the defenders we've got.
Really?
And I think we could stay
really
up.
Think we can get by with Shaw?
I think it's more of a priority. Yeah, I think it's more of a priority to get a centre midfielder and a centre forward. I think we could stay up with this back four and a goalkeeper at this moment in time. I think if it came to it, and it was a toss up between which one we could get, I would break the bank to get a goal scorer. Sorry, I would break the bank to get a goal scorer, because we're not scoring enough goals. Even when Callum Wilson's playing, we're not scoring enough goals. And we need a creative midfielder, and we need a goal scorer. And those two positions need to be filled. At the moment, we're not getting linked with any strikers, and that's a concern for me. It's all very well having somebody playing thread needle passes through and, putting the ball on the end of somebody's foot. But if all we've got to aim for in the next couple of weeks before Wilson comes back is Joe Linton, Alan St. Maximin, or Chris Wood, then we aren't going to score goals. And the worry is that if we concede a goal,
I think I can see totally where you're coming from, Steve, and there's a lot of value in what you're saying. But you could argue we've just spent £25 million on buying a centre forward. I would dispute whether he's a goal scorer, as Malcolm says, as opposed to a centre forward. But we've just spent 25 million on having a centre forward, and we're still saying we haven't got goal scorers. And by the way, I think you're right. But it's a point, isn't it? We've just spent 25 million. Why did we spend 25 million on a centre forward if he's not going to score goals for us?
He'll get goals. Look, you've seen it. He gets goals, but yeah, I mean, he averages 10 to 12. He averages 10 to 12 a season. The stats are there for everybody to see. On Saturday, I had disagreements. I had disagreements with people because
I'd be wanting 10 goals from a midfield player.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's it. Exactly. I know exactly where you're coming from. But look, at the end of the day, he won. He won all his aerial battles, and so he should. But he 15 aerial battles, created a lot around him. But ultimately, he's not your answer for goal scorer. 100% not. We still need one. I think he's a great if we need to change things around. He's not a long-term buy. I think him alongside Wilson will work. And I just think we need somebody else in. We need somebody young. We need somebody quick who can put the ball in the back of the net. And that's what we need. But I do feel, because it's two separate issues, I do feel the back four could get us through. And I think the goalkeeper could get us through. Hopefully, I mean, Fernandez seems to be taking active part in all the training. I've seen some footage of the training today. He's getting involved. He's there. Hopefully Fernandez will play some part in this second part of the season. And we can get somewhere with him. But...
he's been sorely missed.
He has. You don't realise what you're missing until he's gone. And as John says, if Sharp can keep up that kind of level of performance that he put in against Leeds, things may be okay. But it's an interesting point you make, John, about the striker situation. I mean, we spent 25 million on Wood, but why did we spend money on it if he's not going to get the goals?
Well, I mean, that's my point. I don't want to be too harsh about the boy. I really don't, because I wish him all the very best. And why? Apart from being a nice guy and an honest type of footballer, we need our signings in January to be a success. There's absolutely no question about that. We need them to be a success to stay up. But if you take away all emotion and you take away being a Geordie, etc., you would get some people, neutrals, smiling when we say we've spent £25 million on a centre forward, but we still need a goal scorer. Because they say, wait a minute, haven't you just bought one? Or do you think that you've just bought one? Because surely that's a job of a centre. The first job of a centre forward is to score goals, and you've spent £25 million on one, but you're saying we still haven't got a goal scorer in the side. And Steve, my sympathies with you, but it's an interesting thing, isn't it? That we've spent that money on Wood, but have we improved the side? Have we improved the side with Wood? Only time will tell. And also, if he's going to play as a centre forward, it'll be his goals which will determine whether he's been a success or not. And while he has regularly had good seasons, Steve, as you say, with 10, 12, 10, 14, good, steady away returns. His goal-scoring record this season for Burnley and Newcastle United is 3 goals in 23 matches in all competitions, taking the cups as well. Now,
and
that
John,
is the goal-scoring record that's going to keep you up, by the way.
Right. And to that, John, what I would say is, how many has Shelby scored this season?
What you mean? We should play him centre forward?
No, what I'm saying is that Wood, he's actually producing what a central midfielder produces, and Shelby isn't the most attacking of players. He drops off all far too often, but for a centre forward, 3 in the amount of time that you and the number of games that you've just mentioned, it's not good at all. Not good. And okay, so maybe things would improve if he had the right person playing with him. I just wonder whether the manager, should he not have another forward signed by midnight on Monday, what's he going to do? And all I can think is bring Dwight Gale in.
Yeah, well, yes, I know you've banged on about that, and I can understand why, Malcolm, because he scores goals.
He scores goals.
There's also the interesting point, in what I'm just playing devil's advocate and throwing everything in the water here. But if you're going to play, I've sort of said, on one hand, is Wood a good signing if he scored 3 goals in 23 games and you paid 25 million for a centre forward and then say in the next breath you need a goal scorer? Equally, if you want to turn the coin the other way and say you've got to play to Wood's strengths to get the best out of him, then, in my humble opinion, do you need a winger? Because if you're going to play to his strengths, you've got to get crosses into the guy because that's what he's about. Or you're going to play one of your guys a winger who is Saint Maximum, who goes in, out, shake it all about. He's not going to cross first time, so you're going to get the best out of him. Does he need that sort of winger, or does he need the sort of winger that Fraser might be, or that Murphy might be, and that Saint Maximum would have to be used somewhere else? This is situation, isn't it? That, have we thought this out? Do we see Wood as an out-and-out goal scorer who will get the goals to keep us in this division? Or do we see us having to build a side round him to get the best out of him? And if we do that, should Saint Maximum be playing out wide? Sure. Because he doesn't get the ball in first time.
There is something that I noticed against Leeds, and it was this, that not once did anybody make a run in the box as a cross was about to come in. Everybody had just already gone in and they just stood. They stood just outside of the 6-yard box and there was nobody on a running jump. And of course you get much greater height if you're on a run. And so everything was a standing jump. And I'm thinking, well, hang on a minute. And I know that people will probably say, oh, well, going to the near post and the far post, that's all a bit old hat. It's old fashioned. But the spaces are there. The spaces seriously are there. And if you're making those kind of runs, you're at speed, you're going to get greater height. And instead of hitting the first man, the guy who's crossing, he's got to clear the centre halves. And it's a complete rethink. But for heaven's sake, what they're doing now doesn't work. And so there's got to be plan B, for heaven's sake. And I would be, if I were involved with the coaching at Newcastle, I would be taking Wood aside, away from everything else going on, and say, right, come on, let's get you running into the box. All right, he's not the quickest, but if he gets the timing right, he would be head and shoulders above the centre halves. Then we might see something happening. But at the moment, on a standing jump, you're not going to get anything from him.
Talking about this, yeah, and I understand, Mal, you're right. The interesting thing as well, when we talk about playing to his strengths, etc., and you, Steve, equally were talking about the back four, etc., etc. What I did find refreshing is when Manquillo come on and he's playing on his wrong side at left back, he got forward terrifically.
Yes, he did.
And he produced the forward run that got us the free kick from which Shelby scored, albeit the shot wasn't the best of Shelby and the goalkeeper was horrendous. In fairness to Shelby, he produced a belting effort in the first half when the keeper produced a good save. But Manquillo was a little bit of a breath of fresh air for me when he come on, and it was his positivity that won us the free kick. And I tell you what, I'm not pretending this guy is any sort of international or any sort of regular Premier League player, but I do think that he's sometimes undervalued by people at Newcastle United, because I don't think he lets the club down that often. He's willing to play either side and he can look comfortable. And I thought the kid did well when he come on.
Yes, absolutely, John. And I feel a lot of the time he's better going forward than he is having to defend.
Yeah. Okay, quick ad break. Thanks to all our sponsors. Spider VPN for all your internet security. Google Spider VPN. They come up at the top of the Google search list. They are the boys to trust and will protect your computer from unwanted bugs. Skipsandbins.com. Telephone 0800 25 45 25 3. Email inquiries at skipsandbins.com. Website www.skipsandbins.com. Easy contract, free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Thanks also to L&G Family Funeral Directors, 0191 389 7245, and to Garden of Healing Dispensary, CBD hemp and cannabinoid specialists, www.thegohd.com. Thanks also to Arcot Interiors for all your kitchen necessities. You can find them at the bottom of Heaton Road, and Google Arcot Interiors. They come up at the top of the Google search list. Thanks also to qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wolves and Newcastle, and the guys who run our website, nufcmatters.com. Thanks also to jabsignature.co.uk for all of the flyers that they do for us. Thanks to Media Arts for all the video work. If you're a first-time visitor to the channel, please subscribe. Hit the Newcastle Legends logo in the bottom right-hand corner, and that's it. You can subscribe for free. We still do 7 shows a week, and they are all free. Hit the thumb up underneath the video to like it. Click share to your social media, and drop into the comments box to speak to like-minded Newcastle fans. We're also available as a podcast on iTunes and Spotify and other podcast providers. The show usually goes up 24 hours after the show. If you want to join the NUFC Matters cult and get a cup, a pen, a scarf, and your membership card and entry into the monthly draw, put your phone over this QR code and it will take you straight to the website. Failing that, go to nufcmatters.com and become a member. If you want to come and see Malcolm MacDonald pre-match or post-match, we are at the Dog and Parrot. It's kid-friendly and it goes great food and beer, and you can come and meet Malcolm in person before the match or after the match during the season. Make a donation to the food bank via nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk. The matchday bucket is operational 365 days of the year. If you want to follow us on social media, then go to NUFC Matters. We've got a Facebook group and we've got a Facebook page. And if you're into the true crime stuff that we do, then follow Steve Wraith's True Crime Interviews, and that is a Facebook group. My personal Twitter follow-on page is @Steve Wraith, and Instagram is Steve Wraith. Give me a follow on there too. Malcolm had a question on Twitter from Mounty Magic. He's saying, I can't make the live show, but I'm sure I was at a friendly game where Malcolm scored 4 goals, but I can't find any record of it. Am I dreaming? He has a feeling it was against Wolves.
No, I'd never play a friendly against Wolves. No.
I can't think it, Malcolm. I think you scored in about 4 seconds, never mind 4 goals in a friendly in Scotland, didn't you?
Against St Johnstone, yeah.
I remember that one.
Yeah, there just couldn't have been a quicker goal.
No, because I remember that one.
From the whistle, John Tudor just knocked it a couple of feet, and I smacked it.
The keeper had come off his line to mark his goal, hadn't he?
That's right. He was marking the 6-yard box. In those days, they used to put a mark on the right in the centre of the 6-yard line. Yeah. And he was doing that, and his head was down, and the ball just dropped over his head into the net.
If I remember rightly, you ran to the dugout and asked Joe if you could come off now because you'd scored your goal for the afternoon.
Yeah. As it so happens, I think we went on. Was it 9-3 it finished, and there were 3 hat-tricks, or 7-3 and there were 2 hat-tricks, something like that. It was scoring a goal so quickly as that, it just gave the game a bit of a farcical edge.
Absolutely.
Nevertheless,
what about this from Tom Hogg? He says, what's the lad's thoughts on Dan Burn from Brighton? Now, Gibbo, this is a story that broke yesterday. Yeah. Dan Burn, 6'7", centre-half at Brighton, 18 months left on his contract, and a Newcastle fan, born in Blythe.
I was going to say, the first thing you've got to say about that is that you'd have no problem when it come to him. If you can get past Pansy Potter and get past the Brighton board and get the deal done at that level, you'd have no problem with this guy, because he was born at Blythe in well, you know Blythe well, Malcolm. He was born at Blythe. He was at Newcastle as a kid till he was about 10-year-old, and then he went and played for New Hartley, which is this, Ray Kennedy, etc., Blythe Spartans, the young side, the kids' sides. Started off at Darlington as a player, made his name at Darlington, eventually found himself at Brighton. Absolute Newcastle United devotee who stood on the terraces and absolutely idolised Alan Shearer. So the problem of getting a Brighton player to come up from the other end of the country to the northeast is absolutely non-existent with Dan Burn. Would he be a good signing? Well, he's 6'7", which is a little bit of an advantage on balls played in. Interesting. Where was he on the original pecking order? On Newcastle going scattergun now and saying, well, we can't get the Brazilian from Sevilla, we can't get this, we can't get that, and eventually you come to Dan Burn. I don't know. I don't want to be too harsh, but he's honest to goodness. He wouldn't do us a disservice. And so if you didn't pay over the odds, which I think we did with Chris Wood, if you didn't pay over the odds with this guy, then he wouldn't be the worst signing in the world. He wouldn't necessarily be the best, but he wouldn't be the worst.
Sure. There's always one question, isn't there, in a situation like this, John, is he better than what we've got?
Well, yes, but that is the question. And Steve would probably say perhaps not meaning Dan Burn, but meaning anybody, because Steve's got a lot of faith, and I'm praying Steve's right.
Dan Burn's better than what we've got, 100%.
I've got little... Before Newcastle produced the shutout at Leeds, when I looked at defence and I looked at Lascelles and I looked at Shaw, who was a walking mistake, and I said to you very early on, Steve, that he was wonderful at Leeds, but he's a walking mistake normally. I look at Clark, who, when he was in the side, was absolutely befuddled for me. Lascelles, oh, crikey me, can't pass it, can't head it, doesn't read it, isn't a leader.
Had a good game against Leeds. One mistake.
Is one game out of 23.
I know.
This season, mate. I know. Tell you what, but if I talked to you before Leeds,
he was awful.
After we lost at home to Cambridge and we drew with Watford. And by the way, that's the only result Watford got. They sacked the manager when he lost the next game. They'd lost 7 on the trot, come to us, got a draw, and then they lost the next game. And against us, it looked as if they could actually flip and win it. That's how bad we have been. All of a sudden, bless us, and it's our nature as Geordies. All of a sudden, we're going to march on Poland because we've beaten Leeds. Please do not lose sight of the fact that Lascelles can't play. Don't let us think because we did Leeds that we can showboat the rest of this transfer window and then go in against Everton. In Everton, maybe tan our backsides, and we're back thinking, oh dear, we're in the claggy here. We are in the claggy if we don't sign. And I honestly hope and pray that you're right, Stephen. I would like nothing better than Lascelles to become the England players some people were putting him out to be when he first signed for us, and that Shaw looks like a World Cup finalist. Oh, he is a World Cup finalist with Switzerland. How did that come about? And I hope all that happens and everything is wonderful in the garden. Unfortunately, I've mislaid me rose-tinted glasses, and I've only got the pair I've got on now. But there we go. Maybe that I'm wrong and we're right. I certainly hope so. I was wrong at Leeds. It was fabulous to see Leeds. I looked at Leeds and I thought Share's a player. I might have signed Shaw if I had looked at that game. Luckily, I've looked at another 73 and no, I wouldn't sign him.
Malcolm, you need a referee today. Honestly though, I mean, you're right, John. You're right about Lascelles, but I live in the, I live in the optimistic zone at times, and last week was just a blessing after so many miserable trips away from home, including
Poland. You were low on the snake's belly last Thursday. You were low on the snake's belly last Thursday.
But it's in a week, a great week. It's a great week.
Right, Steve, were you involved in the trouble that was down there?
To be honest, I didn't get involved in it simply because I was in the ground way too early. I mean, I went down with Holly and her dad. We got down early. We met Liam Kennedy from Newcastle World outside at the McDonald's. We had a coffee in there, and then we headed over to the ground at 2. And we got in early. We had a drink inside the ground, had something to eat inside the ground, and then we got into our seats about 2:30. The chaos behind us afterwards, obviously, was all down to turnstiles failure. And people were involved in a crush. So I do believe Newcastle United supporters trust, Leeds supporters trust. We're compiling information. Newcastle World were doing the same and forwarding that on. And I think Leeds acted quite quickly, but West Yorkshire Police, they come under a lot of criticism, and rightly so, because they don't half bring it upon themselves at times. And it'll be interesting to see what the investigation brings up. But the simple fact of the matter is, it's an aging ground. When you go to Elland Road, it's still parts of that ground were there when you were playing, Malcolm. It's an aging ground. It's a championship ground. It's not a Premier League ground, and it needs severe work. And I'm afraid that the turnstiles are just part and parcel of that. And that's why there was a major issue at the turnstiles. Thankfully, nobody got hurt.
Are you calling me aged?
No, I'm saying that you played in that era when that ground was built, I think.
You're just a boy, Soups. You're just a boy, you son.
Lots of people saying, Christ, give Wood a break, John. He's only had a couple of games. Get off his back, man, says George. Jeff says, Wood has a different and commentary skill set. It's another tactical option. With our style at the moment, we need a Lineker type tap-in Mucha, says Nicholas. So he's agreeing with me. We do need a goal scorer. There's lots of different opinions, and that's what makes it interesting. And I think a lot of people as well saying Graham says Gale doesn't score goals, otherwise he'd be playing. A forward and a midfielder who create chances are what we require.
Just on that, Steve.
May I take up this point on Wood, because it's been mentioned many, many times to him. And may I make several things very clear. First and foremost, I am absolutely dying for the boy to be a success. We have hung our cap on him, not necessarily this one, but the cap on him, by spending 25 million for him to rescue us and keep us up. He has done that for 4 seasons on the trot at Burnley. And if he does that for us at Newcastle, I will be absolutely thrilled to bits. I said the day he signed, he is a stepping stone in the rebuilding of Newcastle United. What we need now, he may well provide. What when we go from mid-table into the top 7 and beyond, he will not do. He is our killer Klein, but up front instead of the back. I want it to happen so much it's untrue, and I'm with them all the way, and I've said that in print. However, I am also realistic. I am long enough in the tooth to have sat there and watched Newcastle United when they had centre forwards like the fella there, like Shearer and like Jackie Milburn. And not only that, let's go down to Ferdinand and Cole, and let's go beyond that to Len White, and let's go beyond that Demba Ba, etc., etc. My concern is that we have paid £25 million for a bloke to keep us up, and the only way he can keep us up is by scoring goals. And yet, subconsciously, one of the best fans we've got, which is Steve Wraith, is talking about us still needing a goal scorer. Well, surely the idea is that Chris will be that goal scorer. Now, I want to give him every chance in the world. Goodness gracious me. I'm a Newcastle United fan. If he doesn't score goals and Callum Wilson stays injured for a few more weeks, we're down. I am desperate for Chris Wood to be the man that he was at Burnley. He almost single-handedly, and nobody in a team game does anything single-handedly, but his goals kept Burnley up. And if he does that for Newcastle, I will be chuffed as it's possible to be. But I have never been so disappointed as I was in a debut at Newcastle United when he in his first game, when I thought everything negative that could be said, from pedestrian to body language to touch, etc., was not there. Of course, he's only played 2 games. Of course, he can get better. Of course, he needs help. But sometimes you've got to help yourself. I am desperate for it to happen. But let's make no mistake whatsoever. We have gambled at £25 million that this guy will be the answer to keep Newcastle up. It is a gamble at that money. But it goes with all our best wishes. Mine, Malcolm's, as an ex-number 9, Steve is a top fan. Mine is a hack that's been around Newcastle for too many years to be able to add up on 2 hands. But we all want them to happen. And you, more than anybody, Steve, want them to happen. Yet subconsciously, you're still talking about we needing a striker.
Yeah. Good news.
Is that not what he's supposed to be?
Well, look, I mean, somebody's pointed out there that he's got a similar scoring record to Callum Wilson.
Does he look so far the same? And did he at Burnley?
2 games. It's two games.
No,
2 games. Judge him after. Do what we did with Joe Linton. Judge him after 10 games.
Well, let's hope.
Are you waiting for us to say something about Joe Linton? Now you've got to either judge Joe Linton as a centre forward.
I mean, we could do 2 hours tonight.
What he is now, and as a centre forward, he was as much use as a glass eye. What he is now is he looks a good player, a decent player, a real player playing in the position he plays now. But he wasn't a centre forward. So, and that's the position we're talking about. Joe Linton wasn't. If Joe Linton continued playing up front, we would still need a goal scorer because he wouldn't be it.
A bit of breaking news anyway. Just before, we play Everton. That's our next Premier League game, and Everton have just confirmed that Decore and Delph are now both injured and out for 4 weeks. That's their centre midfield now taken apart, and no manager in place at Everton either at this moment in time. Let's hope the bad luck continues long enough for us to face them.
Absolutely, yes, it's not that we want to be personal, but we wish them all the bad luck in the world till they play us. And
Exactly. Barry Johnson's been asking this question all night, so I'm going to give him the honour of answering it. If we bring signings in before Monday, who is going out because we're only allowed 25 in the squad? Well, one of them is going to be a goalkeeper, Barry, because at the moment, if you remember, at the start of the season, Steve Bruce had to announce 3 goalkeepers in his 25. Mark Gillespie, Carl Darlow, and of course Martin Dubravka. Dubravka obviously was injured long term. He's back now.
Woodman as well, mate. Woodman as well had 4 keepers, didn't he?
4. Well, there you go. 4. Obviously, Darlow had long COVID. We had Darlow, Woodman start the season, and we had Gillespie. So that's who will probably go out, John, isn't it?
Yeah. We don't need 4 keepers. We've got to get one of those out. It is simple because we haven't got a standout keeper. I still think Dubravka is the best keeper that we've got on the books. We will get rid of a keeper. My worry is not who goes out, because I don't think we're that good that we've got to worry about that. There would be plenty people that would be candidates to go out the squad. I'm much more bothered about who comes into the squad, and that somebody does come into the squad. And as you said, Steve, you know, we can look at it and I can say, oh, I desperately want a centre half. You can say, Steve, oh, I desperately want a centre forward. So do I. We can say we definitely want a midfield creator. Absolutely. Somebody can say, well, we definitely need a left back. Yes. There's so many and we're not going to get them all. So we've got to cherry pick and get the best we can, but make certain we get something. And in a perfect world for me, we would sign a centre half, a left back, a midfielder, and a striker, 4 players by Monday night. Not a chance at all of that happening. There's more chance of me landing on the moon and finding 12 fans who have been up there since we won the European Fairs Cup in 1969 because it got mislaid on the way home. There's no chance of that happening. But good luck to the people that are doing it. Good luck to Amanda and the crew over there. Good luck to them when they come back home because they're about to do that. Let's get somebody through the door. We're with them. We're with Chris Wood. We're not anti-Newcastle United. We just put our fears out there, don't we? If you love the club enough, you have fears. We live with fears. We're Geordies. We've lived with fears all the time. We've lived with fears since 1969. So we are used to fears, but we believe that the mid-term and long-term future of Newcastle is secure. It's the short term we worry about, and we've got to get over the hump to look. You know what? There's a little bump in the road. There's a little hump in the road, and we've got to get over it to see the promised land. And if we can get over that hump, we'll see the promised land, and we'll be okay. Let's get over the hump.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay. Go on,
well
Mal.
Said,
give the final word to you, Mal.
Well,
it's been an eventful show. I mean, look, John, this is the beauty of this show. We never know what on NUFC matters on any night of the week. We never know what direction it's going to go in. This show is always been about us having opinions, and we agree most of the time. But every now and then, John and I have a little tete-a-tete, and you just sit back and laugh.
Well, but that's good, isn't it? That's what life's about. That's what Geordies are about.
Of course, it is.
Yeah. I will go back to something that I said earlier in the show, and that is that if we are seriously looking for goals and we're not able to buy by midnight on Monday, then there's got to be a rethink, because I'm looking at Chris Wood, and for me, he is not a sole striker. He needs somebody desperately to play with him, and whilst Wilson is injured, the only one in the club who can do that is Dwight Gale. Now, people say he doesn't score goals. Yes, he does. Have a look at his record. Okay, a lot of it was in the division below, but at the same time, and I'll correct one of our comment writers, was that the last time that Gale started a game and played the majority of it, he scored a goal. And that was against West Bromwich Albion last season. And it was a hell of a goal. Murphy swung a fabulous cross from the right into the near post, and Gale got up and boof, smacked it into the net. And well, isn't that what we want now? And so give it a try. Give Wood a partner and let's see what happens. Let's see more movement in the box, because at the moment, Wood is so easy to mark because he's not moving at all. Mind, just if I was just reminded of my own start with Newcastle by a comment a few minutes ago. And yeah, I went 2 games without scoring when I first joined Newcastle. Let's just hope that Wood can do in his 3rd game what I managed to do.
There's a problem for him, my friend. May I also say that let's finish this show on an optimistic note, because we started on it with beating Leeds.
Yes.
Everton are next up. We all thought that our situation with Everton was that we're going to have to tuck up Rafa. Now we're going to have to perhaps tuck up another one of our squad, which is Big Duncan, unless they appoint a manager in between. Duncan is famously the man that chinned Wood Hullett when him and Shearer had been left out of the Sunderland derby, and
he was just the first in the queue, wasn't he?
Yeah, Alan Shearer went there saying, "I'm in there, I'm gonna," and he found that the door was already off its hinges, and the Big Dunk was already in with Wood, and the sparks were flying, and suddenly Wood was flying as well back to Amsterdam. So we have a little bit of affection for Dunk, but we're going to tuck him up big time. And maybe it'll be 2-1, Malcolm, and we'll not have had that 2-goal lead that you and I have craved for an age. But we've got to keep the faith. Everton right now are made for us. Get a couple in. Let's be greedy, Steve. Let's get a centre-half in for me and a centre-forward in for you. And anything Malcolm wants by Monday night, let's go to Everton, the Everton match. They come to us. We took them up and smacked them and demoralised them 2-1. I'm not getting too ambitious. 2-1. And we win. And then up we go flying. Keep the faith. Come on, you Geordies.
Sure. And following that win at Leeds, 2 home games to follow.
Now, Malcolm, stop getting me excited, mate. I might be anticipating life in here. Sorry.
If you want to see the discussion continue, then get yourself along to the Time Theatre this weekend. It's the last chance to get tickets on Groupon. They are on sale on Groupon tomorrow, and they will come down before the close of play tomorrow. Get yourself a cheap ticket to come and see Peter Beardsley and Mick Lowes, but the opening gambit will be me, Malcolm, and Gibbo on stage. So get yourself along. Doors open for standard tickets at 2 o'clock, and the show begins at 3. Finished by 5. A nice way to have your Sunday afternoon. If you want the VIP tickets, the doors open at 1. I get a chance to come and meet Peter, get a photograph with him, get something signed. But get yourself onto Groupon. Last chance to get tickets, and a big thank you to Spider VPN for sponsoring that event. We've gone into extra time, lads. I'll let you get off. Take care, and I'll see you on Sunday.
Yeah, keep the faith, guys. We can't lose this weekend. Keep the faith. We can't lose.
Critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's